So I have this Singer 348. This belongs to Sarah, and she just brought it by for some routine service. It is in pretty good shape. There is some kind of grime buildup because it is older. It looks like everything, if I move the needle position, it moves the needle position. It does have a little bit of just general griminess on the bottom of the stitch selector, so I'm imagining she doesn't use these the 7 and 6 very often. It looks like she's probably staying within the 10-15 just based on just the general tight gunginess down at the bottom. She did include a bobbin for me. There is some debris, some dust down in here. We'll do a test sew before we start taking everything apart. But we've got that there. She did give me permission to take this tape off, should it become necessary. Turning the hand wheel does produce fairly smooth movement, so we're in good shape there. She did say that this light should be a good bulb. She said it was changed maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and these bulbs tend to last forever, so that should be in good shape. She did include a cam, I believe. Let's see, which stitch is this? It looks like it might be a zigzag. And scallop, number 7. So she says she does use these cams, and she's got a handful of them. And she just gave me this one to try. I will note that there does appear to be a crack here on the display face where this button is. This is to turn the bobbin winder on and off. It is a little bit tough. So there's a little crack there, is what it is. Other than that, the paint is in good shape. There's just a couple of little nicks along the bed, which is what we would expect to see a machine this age. A little bit of grime, but not too bad. I think I can probably actually get most of this off, so we'll try. There are some cracks in the hand wheel, you can see here. They're not currently affecting function, so that's a good sign, but something for her to be aware of. This one in particular does look like it goes most of the way through. The cord is in great condition. It is still supple. It is starting to harden a little bit, but it is still flexible and soft, and it's still in good shape. So I don't see any damage or any frays or anything like that. It does have, of course, signs of age. This looks like it's got a little sunburn. So it looks like that's in great shape so far. On the underside of the machine, she does have the cover on, which is great news. So it probably has kept a lot of the dust out, anything that's not coming from over here. We'll take this off in a second. I do want to note that the rubber feet, the rubber itself has gotten very, very hard and is starting to crack. This one here is already worn pretty heavily. It's still doing its job, but something to think about. This one is almost completely gone. Another thing she might think about is whether she wants to replace all 4 of these. So they're all the same height and there's no damage. Other than that, the feet look good. And on the bottom of the machine, again, they're just a couple of little dings, but it's mostly just some grime, which you would expect for its age. We've taken off the face, and as I suspected, it's in great shape. Again, a little bit of grime, but the oil is still doing its job. It looks fairly clean. The motor looks in good shape as well. And the wires in here all look in good shape, no signs of damage. And they look great. And the belt, we'll take a look at that when we get the machine fully open, but from what I can see here, it does look good as well. This belt is in good shape. No excessive signs of wear that I can see on initial inspection. These all look like they're in good shape as well. So I think this is going to be a pretty simple service, and we'll get this back to her for another couple of years. So I just plugged the machine in, and I do want to note that the light comes on when I ask it to, turns off when I don't. So that's great. Great news. I do have the machine threaded, Aurifil. And I'll point out it goes through this thread guide here, down, through the presser foot discs, which you can't hardly see, but those guys there, around, across the check spring, and around that little knobby, then up, through the take-up lever, down, through the guide. Oh, I missed one. Through the guide, and through the guide. Let me put it through there real quick. All right, so got that all threaded up. These machines are a little bit less tolerant of tension problems due to incorrect threading, so you want to be really diligent about following the correct thread path, or else your test sew is not going to work. I am going to do a test sew here with some general quilting cotton, and we'll see how she gets on. Generally speaking, I like to have the tension set at 3, stitch width set at a medium stitch width, center position, and then either a 10 or a 12 for the stitch length for the initial test sew. So that's where we're going to start. Interesting. It's doing the scallop. I forgot I had the cam in. Let me take the cam out. So these cams tell the machine what to do, and so this one is telling it to do a scallop. And if we look at the stitches it sewed, it is definitely doing a very, very long scallop. So we're going to just take that out and do a straight stitch. The motor sounds fine. Everything seems to be working great. Like I said, Sarah has kept this machine in really good shape. So let's turn our fabric around and try to get some straight stitches. There is a little bit of a ch-ch. We will see what it looks like on the inside. So that's our wide scallop. It actually looks really good. Scallop. The underside. So the balance is very good on that stitch. You can't see the light blue on the bottom. You can't see the white on the top. Let's try our straight stitch. Now, I don't like the needle position, so it should be in the center, so I have it set to center position, but it is obviously on the left position. And it does not have its cam. So let's see what happens. Maybe it will correct itself. Nope. Okay. So it definitely thinks that is the center position. If I go to the right, if I go all the way to the left, it's actually going to hit the pedal, or the foot, see? So that's a problem we're going to have to take a look at. This is the correct foot style and the correct foot attachment for this machine. So it's a little bit odd that it doesn't know where center is. Yeah, it has a lot of play to the right and no play at all to the left. So that's something we'll have to try to fix. But let's, again, let's just see if we can get some stitches out of her. Okay, no. It did produce straight stitches. Again, the balance is good. The needle position is just wrong. So let's see if we can fix it. Okay, I have the machine opened up and a couple of things on the inside. So this is our special cam. Got a little bit of grunge, but not too bad. The gear is dirty, but not too crusty. Just looks dirty, linty, so we'll get that cleaned up. Vertical drive gear here is also dirty, but all the teeth are in good shape, and I'm not seeing any immediate evidence of significant rust or damage, so we're good there. You can't see it, but the gear down there, its complement also looks really good. There is some old grease and debris in the case. We expect that, so that looks good. On the face of the machine, we do have a little bit of debris here that I think I'll be able to get off this old oil. But generally it looks pretty good. Just some clean and a little bit of oil, and it should be in good shape. I'm not seeing anything here that would have caused any issue with the needle bar position being so far to the left, but we will see. Yeah, it does move to the left, but it's just not. Center should be about here, and yeah, that's about center. So it's about, I don't know, half a centimeter off, so that's going to be a problem. We'll see if we can get that fixed. Sarah did say that it does seem to correct itself when there is a cam in, so that's something else to be aware of. So we're going to start getting this cleaned up on the upper. I am going to take the hand wheel off and also clean all of these, all the case and everything. The clutch is still engaged because I want to be able to check the movement of things as I go along. And then I cannot see the bobbin winder from here, so I have to open it up on the side in order to see the bobbin winder. It's kind of hidden under this frame. Just about done with the service on this Singer 348, and I just want to walk through what I've done thus far. So starting with this needle bar area, I started by removing all the old oil from this section. There was a fair amount of buildup on this needle bar at the base that I got cleaned up. I actually took off this collar and cleaned underneath of it as well as on top. I also cleaned off the needle bar and this collar here. Applied a little bit of oil here and here, as well as at the top of the needle bar. Cleaned a bunch of old oil off of this mechanism. So this is the mechanism that controls the zigzag. So I cleaned a bunch of oil out of here and out of these sections as well. And then I also applied oil to the oiling ports. There's an oiling port up here, and there's one for this guy and the take-up lever. And I also applied oil to this joint here to keep everything moving freely. Next, I cleaned out the upper tension assembly, wiped everything down, checked to make sure there's no threads stuck in any of the tension discs. This is a potential dual feed, so there are 3 tension discs, so I checked all 3 of them. From there, I moved on to the top, the upper area. I cleaned old grease off of these 2 gears and re-greased them. I also cleaned off the cam's special cam here and cleaned that cam off. It's over in storage waiting for me to put everything back together. I also cleaned off and re-greased these 2 gears, this one here and the one underneath. Got those nice and shiny. I applied oil to the oiling port here, grease to this feed dog cam, and then I also applied a little bit of oil to this port down in there. On the hand wheel, rotate it around. I took off the clutch and cleaned underneath of it. I did make note of a couple of pretty significant cracks here on the hand wheel, and I've asked Sarah if she would like me to replace this because I happen to have one in almost the same color that doesn't have those cracks. So I've asked her whether or not that's something that she wants to have done. I blew out a bunch of dust in the motor, but otherwise I left the motor alone. Cleaned out the plug, cleaned out all of these little crevices. In the front, it took off the front panel. It came off pretty easy. With that, I found there was this piece that was broken off, and I found the piece inside the machine, so I was able to make that repair. So when I put this on, it'll be nice, and it'll look complete. I cleaned all of these mechanisms, so I made sure that they moved correctly, cleaned off a bunch of old, probably finger grease off of them from over the years. I cleaned a bunch of gunk out of the bobbin winder, so you couldn't even tell this was slit, so I cleaned that all out and applied a little bit of oil to both of these sections. I also took off this cap and cleaned this bar here, and I also tried to get the rust off of this screw, and I applied a protectant oil there just to try to keep that at bay. So we'll see how that goes. Cleaned off this knob, cleaned off between this tension mechanism here, and I also cleaned off the top of that knob, which had some surface rust, but cleaned up really, really well. And then, other than cleaning the bed, I also cleaned out this crevice here and that port. There is a little bit of damage I didn't see when I was doing the initial cleaning. I think it was hidden under some of the old dirt, but it doesn't seem to be terrible, and I have applied a little bit of Blue Creeper on those spots just in case. came over here to the bobbin area, cleaned a bunch of lint out of the teeth here and out of these channels for the feed dogs. Cleaned underneath this race. There was a bunch of lint just kind of gathered under here that I got cleaned out, as well as in here. I still haven't checked to see if there's supposed to be a wick in there, but there wasn't anything in there but dirt. I also pulled up this and cleaned under there. There was, again, a bunch of lint kind of just under there from use. I also took off this plate and cleaned completely under there. Again, there was just a bunch of old lint kind of jammed in under there. And then I cleaned out these channels, which also had some buildup. So I cleaned those out as well. I also cleaned a bunch of old oil out from underneath this needle bar area. I just used a very, very diluted degreaser, and that seemed to have cut a lot of that off, which I think looks really good now. I also cleaned along here. It was just a little bit of schmutz, and I got most of that off, which I feel really good about. And then under here, I mostly just checked to make sure that there weren't, nothing was broken. I gave everything a little wipe down with a damp cloth. Checked that the belt was in good condition. I cleaned some oil, old oil off of here and here. And I applied new fresh oil into the oiling ports and a very, very light coating on the iron, just to keep it in good shape. Other than that, pretty much everything else, I just gotta put it all back together and see about whether or not I need to switch out that hand wheel. This machine has been in excellent condition. It sewed really well, and so I think we're in good shape. Okay, just finished up with this Singer 438 and been playing around a little bit with my test sew. This was the initial setting with the cam accidentally installed straight stitch. This was a straight stitch with a stitch length of 10. Then I moved it to super 20 stitches per inch and tried the cam again. Then I did a straight stitch with the needle in the left position, then changed it to center here. Then I did a super wide 6 stitches per inch, and then I did a scallop at 15 stitches per inch with a width of 2. The balance does look really good. Of course, the super fine stitches are a little bit off balance, but everything else looks great. And here's what the sounds like. Pretty good.